Hi and welcome to a new lecture in the RICS SPA Essentials course. This course is crafted in order to help those who want to get chartered with the RICS under the quantity surveying route. The course aims at taking your understanding of different areas of competencies from level 1 knowing, going to level 2 doing, and then ending with level 3 advising. And in this lecture we're going to be discussing project financial control and cost reporting, and we're going to be specifically focusing on the cost reporting part because it's quite vital in this area of competence, and it encompasses also the project financial control. This area of competence is required up to level 3, which is advising. So we're going to be discussing level 1 knowing, level 2 doing, and level 3 advising. At level 1, we're going to be discussing an overview about the cost reporting. We're going to be showcasing different cost reporting models and what are the main costs that ourselves as QSs deal with under construction projects. In level 2 doing, we're going to explore together how we can deal with the variable costs as well as how we can deal with variations in general, and not forgetting to mention other bits and bobs that ourselves as QSs should be aware of. And then in the last part of this lecture, we're going to be discussing the strategic importance of cost reporting as well as giving some advice for all of them QSs to be aware of. So let's start with level 1, which is knowing. A cost report allows the different stakeholders within a project to understand the financial stance of a project within the reporting period or in a specific reporting period. You would expect the cost report to include the costs incurred so far for the works done to date, in addition to the costs for the works anticipated to be done at different timeframes, in addition to the incorporation of the risk allocation. The RICS would expect a QS to know how they can incorporate risk events within a cost report. And one of the easiest ways to do that is using the new rules of measurement 1, which is devised by the RICS. In section 13, there are 4 main types of risks: the design development risks, construction related risks, the employer risks, and employer other risks. We would expand further on NRM1 and the different sections of NRM1 in the quantification and costing of construction works lecture. In the project execution plan, there has to be specific clauses about the frequency of the reporting. The frequency of the reporting between the different stakeholders is going to be dependent on the type of the cost report, which I'm going to be expanding on over the next slides. Different types of cost reports would mandate different reporting frequency. It might be every month, it might be once a quarter, it might be once every 6 months. Defining who is responsible for what in terms of a RACI matrix is key in the project execution plan, and that also extends to who should receive what information. The message delivered to different people is key, and what message is delivered to which party is quite prominent, and that has to be agreed between the different contractual parties. In any construction project, there will be a specific list of recipients who are anticipated to receive the drafted cost reports by the quantity surveyors or the cost managers, because these people are going to be key in making further decisions for that specific project at hand. Having finished level 1, which is the knowing, let's now dive in how we can deal with the construction costs under any construction contract. So the first thing is the provisional sums. As I've alluded before, the provisional sums is where the extent is known, the specs might be, the amount of work itself is unknown in terms of quantities and in terms of the magnitude of materials. So we have to make sure that we are reporting on the actual cost of work performed of these provisional sums, and we have maturity in the design which could enable us to do a forecast of the outstanding works to be undertaken. And also, based on our understanding of the scope of works and what's happening on site, we can then advise on areas where there's going to be a potential increase in a specific provisional sum. We have to keep in mind that provisional sums have to be kept to a minimum when we're doing the cost estimate in the first place, because the more provisional sums, the more uncertain the final cost of the project is going to be. The second aspect is the prime cost sums, which, as we have alluded before, it's where the extent is known, the specs are unknown, but we can have some sort of like an indicative unit rate. And it's going to follow a scenario which is resembling the provisional sums. There's going to be tweaking for the unit rate as the design matures more and more. We're going to be multiplying the quantities by the new rates, which are going to be dictated by the more mature design. we have also to make sure that we are accounting for the overheads and profits required to be applied on these different prime cost sums. The third aspect is the day work schedule or the day work list or a day work allowance. So for some building elements where there is no agreed rate in the contract, the contractual parties will have to agree on a day work rate for labor, plant, and materials. There has to be some sort of benchmarking and market testing so that the agreed day work schedule is reflecting the rates in the market. The contractual parties will also have to agree on the overheads and profit percentage to be applied on that day work schedule, and the day work rates plus the overheads and profit will have to be included in the cost report. And the last thing is the risk. We have already discussed it that there are a wide variety of the risk items and they have to be calculated accurately and not just using a percentage of the construction project. Unfortunately, lots of quantity surveyors, they use 5 to 10% as a benchmark, 10% of the construction cost. That's the risk margin, and that is unfortunately inaccurate. You'll have to calculate the risk allowance and the risk budget based on different risk events that you might expect to happen in a specific construction project. Once you have calculated the risk items or the risk events that are anticipated, you can then allocate parts of that risk budget to different variation orders. And once the variation orders they have already been complete, you can reduce the risk allowance accordingly and release it back to the client. And this is all for this video, which is meant to be an extended trailer or a teaser. And if you want to have full access to the full length, the recorded videos, the notes, the presentations, and the question answer banks, do not hesitate to get enrolled on the APC Essentials course on the APC Mastery Path web portal, and you can make the best use of a coupon code which is APC35 for a 35% discount. All the best in your APC journey. Thanks a lot for watching, and catch you in the next video.